Okay, this is my video response because you don't know me at all. And, I'm sick of you attacking me. You don't know me at all. You smear me because I'm a realist. Okay, let's get back to the heart of the matter here. We're talking about the protesters protesting the oil pipeline through British Columbia. And the thing I saw was that they were using a bus, which is run on petroleum products. So, if you can't see the juxtaposition of the problem that these protesters are protesting petroleum products that we all use, including them. That is the heart of the juxtaposition. That is the heart of what I am bringing to your attention. Until we have a substitute for petroleum products, we are stuck with it. And you people are closing your eyes and pretending that we don't use gasoline. We do. What are you going to do about it? How many of you never use petroleum products? You don't use gas to heat your house. And you don't use a car or a truck to get around town. You don't use aircraft. Seriously, if you expect that the population of Canada is going to go along with you when you go and you're asinine, you're not realistic, you are not grounded in this world. No one is going to follow you. You and your small group, if you don't educate me, you're going to block me. You're just putting up walls. You're putting up walls with people who are basically allied with you. You think I'm your enemy. I keep seeing the hatred that you're pouring out on me. You're getting nowhere because you hate. You hate, you hate, you hate, and you point fingers at all the problems. And you pointed at me. So, until you drop your hate for people who are struggling to survive, and until you stop blaming people for what has gone on in previous generations, this whole idea, somehow, you really are going nowhere. Because I know lots of people, and I know what they know because they talk about it. The capitalist system is the root of the problem. The capitalist system was mainly the driver for pushing the indigenous populations off their land. But there was also a great migration of Europeans to North America, and they had to go somewhere. Part of the reason they left Europe was because the capitalists of Europe, in some places they didn't need them to do the manual labor, like for example the Highlands of Scotland. The potato famine in Ireland, there wasn't enough food. But this was generations ago. And seriously, If you don't have petroleum pipelines, as I already said to you, you're going to be shipping it by rail. And have you forgotten about the Quebec town that blew up because a railway car full of very flammable crude oil blew up in the middle of it? Pipelines are much, much safer than rail cars. How else are you going to move crude oil to your communities? Well, you don't really move the crude oil. You have to move the crude oil to a refinery. And then you have to move the refined product. And most of that refined product comes in B-train transport trucks on your highways. So if you are in British Columbia, your refined product comes from Edmonton via pipeline across the mountains. And as far as the export of more petroleum, you're not being realistic. You have the whole BC produces petroleum, Saskatchewan produces it, and Alberta produces it. And the Albertan people rely upon the petroleum industry. And when you say you can't ship it, they say, fuck you. Why? Because they have to feed their families, and that's what they do. They do the petroleum industry. Now, as for the indigenous people protesting these pipelines, they have got a lot of issues. My biggest issue with this is that they don't consider the millions of Albertans that are relying upon this industry to feed their families. And they are relying upon their stewardship of the land. These people might think that they have got it all figured out, but they are using petroleum products. It's hypocrisy. It's dripping with hypocrisy. If you can't see that it's hypocritical, and there is no other way of getting around, you say, well, maybe they could have used an electric bus. Come on. Really? So, your solutions are find an alternative to petroleum products, but it ain't here today. And it ain't going to be here tomorrow. You could say, well, you could ship this petroleum more south. Well, they've already got as far as they can go shipping it to the States. And then ship it out across the whole country to Ontario or Quebec to offload it. But this has to happen because this is how the people of the prairie provinces live. And we need the petroleum. If you can't see that, block me. Because I don't want to talk to idiots. Seriously. You've got incredible hatred to realistic people. They are not going to come on side with you. You have to work with what we have now. And we have petroleum products. British Columbia, like I told you, they get their refined product from Edmonton, or it can come up from the States through Washington State. And it probably wouldn't be too hard for you to get refined product to come in by large ocean-going tankers. No one wants the tankers. You don't want it to send out the crude oil because of the possibility of an Exxon Valdez. Everyone knows. And you same token, you don't want the diesel and gasoline to come in the same way on a tanker because of the same problem. So are you going to rely on shipping it all from the United States? You're just kicking the can over the border. They got pipelines everywhere there, but it's the same issue. You can't have a small, tiny fraction of Canadians dictating to the rest of Canadians, well, we were here first. Well, you weren't. You were born as an Aboriginal person, and it was an accident of birth. Don't bullshit me. An accident of birth. That's all it is. Nobody wants to have polluted lakes. But when you say, you know, this is our land, we were here first, it's not grounded in reality. Reality is what it is. And you might think that you can get your uber liberal people together and you can change this country and this world your way by giving the land back to these native protesters. But you're never going to be successful. Because people are here and they're born in non-Aboriginal bodies and they have to feed themselves and their families. And they've got to use petroleum products. If you knew me, if you had coffee with me, you would realize I want to get us off capitalism. I want to get us off of the whole monetary system, the banks and everything. But you don't know me, and you prefer to throw shitballs at me. And I'm your best ally because I'm grounded and I do research. I know what we're dealing with. And to get the country off capitalism and the world off capitalism, you're going to have to build a lot of bridges and not throw shitballs at people. If you want the roadmap of capitalism, it's in a book by Charles Eisenstein. It's called Sacred Economics. And if you go to Amazon and if you go to the ebook Kindle format, you can download a free sample that will give you a really good idea of what it's all about. And I like that one a lot. And I will not give the world back to indigenous people because they are not the only people on the planet. And you might say, well, no, they weren't. They were born in indigenous bodies, meat suits. And it doesn't make them any wiser than anyone else on this planet. And if you think they are, you're gonna burn bridges with people. Because people know. People know. And, you can try, and you're never going to be successful. How are you going to fix the problems of the past? You got to be damn grounded in reality today. You going to go back and change history? No, you're not. History is history. You got what you got where you are today. You have to work with what we have today. What are the chances that we're going to get the world to abandon capitalism? It's a very, very big mountain to go over. It's mostly in education. How are you going to educate people on Charles Eisenstein's book? It seems like it's going to be very difficult because capitalists own the airwaves and they own all the businesses that everyone works for to feed themselves and their families. So, in the meantime, you might have more success pushing for social programs while we still have capitalism. Because our own history is social programs have passed through governments. Housing is a main thing. Back in the 1970s, there was government subsidies to make things like co-op housing and rental housing. It doesn't exist anymore. It's long gone, but it could be brought back. If you go to the previous video I made here on my YouTube channel, you will see that I just did a video on a very promising drug that could break addictions. But it's hung up because of our capitalist big pharmaceutical company problem. We have got so many troubles. So we have to chip away on things that are what are known as the low-hanging fruit, the easy ones to get done. And if you look on Real Concerned Citizens of Thunder Bay, you will see that I posted something about a man in a wheelchair in Southern Ontario whose Ontario disability benefits were cut. I'm not pro cutting benefits for disabled people, but that's what's going on. And then if you go and look at the comments below that, you will see the kind of people you have to deal with. A lot of people will give you thumbs up and hearts, but then you will see the comments of the people who are really, really heartless people. And these are the ones that you also have to convince for all of these things, as best as you can. But again, I come back to just this little thing. Just this little thing where you make so many assumptions about me. That is your biggest issue, is that you assume everything. You assume that I'm a white, straight man, I've got white privilege, and I know nothing about the history of planet Earth, and that I don't have a heart. And if you assume that about everyone else on the planet, based upon the color of their skin and their gender, you need to go back and read Martin Luther King's speech. That's all I got for you. But, you know, if I'm your nearest ally and you're going to treat me this way, you're a bunch of losers and you're going to get steamrolled by capitalism and every other thing because you are unable to give people the benefit of the doubt and you're not grounded in reality. So go ahead, throw more shit at me. You can waste your time, but you're not going to make any change. If you want to be a change agent on this planet, you got to point out the evils, but you have to be grounded in reality. That's all I got.